Hello, my pretties. It's Queen of Lions here. So we are back with another episode of Shadows and Pretties, episode 166. So today I am going to be reviewing this movie called Twilight Eclipse. Now, this is the third Twilight movie. It came out in 2010 on June 30th. Now, since this movie is gonna turn 12 years old this year, I thought, you know what better way to honor it than, make a video of it. So, yeah, I guess we should just get started. So, this is based on the novel Twilight Eclipse book that was, that the movie is based off of, from Stephanie Meyer, which the novel came out in 2007, which I will be talking about that in a bit, but I will also pretty much what was it? Oh yeah. And we're pretty much going to go through the movie for those who haven't seen the movie in a while, or for those who haven't seen it, or for those who have read the book and want to know what the movie is about. So, yeah, I guess we'll start with that. But seeing that most of the cast members of from New Moon, which was the recent Twilight movie that came out around late 2000s, early 10s era. So, I mean, the first Twilight movie, I mean, it came out 2008. New Moon came out 2009, which was a year after the first movie. And this movie, Eclipse, came out the year after it came out. Although maybe not on the same day by any standards or anything. But, you know, it was premiere at the Los Angeles, well, area, yeah, at the time. So, basically the plot starts off in Seattle, not far from Forks, where Victoria, who is the main antagonist of the Twilight Saga Eclipse. Now, she wasn't really too much in the New Moon because it wasn't really focusing on that, but yeah, we'll just say that it really went from 1 to 100 that quickly. So basically, he attacks Riley Bars so she could begin to create her own army of newborns with him to get revenge on Edward Cullen for killing James, who he killed from the first movie. Back and forth, we have Edward and Bella, who discuss the complications of becoming an immortal vampire. At 17 years old, 1 year older than Edward was back when he became a vampire, Bella expresses her aversion to the idea of marrying so young. Edward refuses to turn her into a vampire until they're married, and his argument that she should have various human experiences she would have otherwise most missed. While Charlie Swan, who is Bella's dad, investigates the disappearance of Riley Bears, and Edward suspects his disappearance was caused by the newborn vampires, furthering his suspicions of Riley's intrusion into Bella's room. Although Edward fears for her safety, Bella insists that Jacob Black and the rest of the werewolf pack would never harm her, but Edward is still unconvinced. Bella then goes to La Push to see Jacob returns home unharmed. During one of her visits, Jacob confesses that he's in love with her and forcefully kisses her. Furious, Bella punches him and sprains her hand, and Edward later threatens Jacob that if he ever touches her without her consent again, and tells him to wait for Bella to give it to him. She then revokes the invitations for Jacob and his pack members to her graduation party, but then he apologizes for his behavior and she forgives him. So meanwhile, Alice sees a vision of the newborn army attacking Forks led by Riley Bears. Jacob is accompanied by Quill and Embry, who overheard this, which leads to an alliance between the Cullens and the Wolf Pack. Later, eventually, the Cullens and the Wolves agree to have meeting place in time to train to discuss this tragedy. Eventually, during the training, Jasper explains to Bella that he was created by a vampire named Maria to control a newborn army. He hated his original existence, and upon meeting Alice, he joined the Cullens with her. So Bella eventually sees the bond between a mated vampire pair and begins to understand Jasper better. Despite the reluctance to marry Bella, Mary, Bella realizes that spending the eternity with Edward is more important to her than anything else, so she agrees to marry him. Edward and Bella camp up in the mountains to hide her from the bloodthirsty newborns. However, during the night, she overhears a conversation between Edward and Jacob, in which they temporarily put aside their hatred towards each other. But later in the morning, Jacob overhears Edward and Bella discussing their engagement. He eventually takes off. She desperately asks him to kiss her, realizing that she's fallen in love with him. Edward finds out about the kiss, but is not upset, as Bella tells him her love for Jacob is not as strong as her love for him. So when Victoria appears, Edward kills her while Seth kills Riley. The Cullens and the Quillet wolves, meanwhile, destroy the army, although Jacob is injured, saving Leah Clearwater from a nearborn. Several members of the vampire police, the Volturi, arrive to deal with the newborn army. They also see that the Cullens are guarding the newborn Bree trainee, who had refused to fight and surrendered to Carlisle and Esme. Jane then tortures her to collect the information and then instructs Felix to kill her, despite the Cullens' efforts to spare her. When Jane notes that Klaus will find it interesting that Bella is still human, Bella informs the date of her transformation to be set. She visits the injured Jacob to tell him that even though she's in love with him, she has chosen to be with Edward. Heartbroken but willing to accept her choice, Jacob reluctantly agrees to stop trying to come between her and Edward. Bella and Edward then go to their meadow, and where she tells him that she's decided to do the things his way: get married, make love, then be transformed into a vampire. She also explains that she's never been as normal as and never will be. She also felt out of place in her entire life, but when she's in Edward's world, she feels stronger and complete. Eventually, the film ends when they decide to tell Carlisle about their engagement, and that's how the movie ends. I would have to say that this one is a pretty good sequel to the first two Twilight movies, especially to New Moon, especially with, where the plot was going for. Now, I really do like how they got, all the cast members to play the characters again. I mean that they eventually announced sometime in early November of 2008 that they had attained the rights to the remaining books of Stephenie Meyer's Twilight Saga series, which includes, the Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn. Eventually, they began to work on the Twilight Saga Eclipse on the same day it was announced, since the New Moon director would be in the post-production for New Moon when Eclipse began shooting. So that's actually pretty interesting. So eventually the filming and post-production stuff for Eclipse began on August 17th, 2009 and at Vancouver Film Studios. So, eventually in April 2010, it was revealed that the reshoots of the film were needed, so they had to do a couple other things to, make sure it's all ready. Eventually, something surprising, in January of 2010, an early draft of the film's script was leaked onto the internet, and the script presumably belonged to star Jackson Rathbone, and his name was watermarked across each page. So I didn't even know that. Eventually, the soundtrack of this movie is just absolutely amazing, just like with the other ones. Especially that it was released on DVD, and I think I have the DVD of it somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it, but I'll still have to look for it though. Eventually, we have Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 that came out at least in 2011, and Breaking Dawn Part 2 that came out in 2012, which I'll get to those in the next episode. I'm not going to get them into it in this one right now because, that's going to be a topic to discuss another time. So, I guess with that being said, the book is pretty much, basically following the same plot. And I'll go through with, some plots of the Eclipse. And if you do, I think I did spot a couple differences in the book than it did in the movie. But I mean, you guys might be able to, maybe figure that out. Maybe if you know, were able to watch the movie. But I mean, I think I like the movies better than the books. But I mean, if you like books that's better than movies, it's fine. I mean, I know some people prefer books over movies, and I know some people prefer movies over books, and that's completely fine. I respect your opinion. So basically, the plot of it is pretty much the same thing, except a little bit of a twist in the beginning, with Seattle being plagued with string of unsolved murders, which it starts all with unsolved murders, and the funny thing is that Edward and Bella applies to go to colleges in there. Eventually, Bella tells Edward to visit her friend Jacob Black. I mean, it's another couple of things that are, you know, some differences that are in this. So eventually, basically, pretty much the same thing with the same. It's basically the same plot as the other movie, except you know the epilogue eventually of this book reveals that a heartbroken Jacob has run away in his wolf form. Eventually, Leah is sympathetic. Having gone through the similar breakup with Sam, she reveals her own disgust and hatred for Bella, though, which I mean, that's pretty surprising thing to see. Eventually, everything goes on, and it's basically pretty much the same thing. I know I'm repeating myself, but the book of this is pretty much the same thing as the original, but except this one, I mean, it does have, some influences, and I mean, I like the torn red ribbon. It was supposed to be this close to the public eventually when the cover was being released. So, I mean, it's a big success book, just like with the movie. I mean, the movie was a success too. So, I mean, when it came to the book, I mean, I definitely would have to say, I mean, there is a few differences between the book and the movie itself. So okay. But yeah, my mind is a bit on blur because I have not seen it in a while. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay. But like I said before, I mean, there is a lot of differences when it came to this book. Now, eventually in the book, there is a few changes in the book that is in the movie. So, however, on the first page, Jacob's note to Bella was passed to Billy and Charlie. Oh, sorry about that. The site I'm looking at, the ad just popped out of nowhere covering it. But eventually, you know, Jacob is close to like 7 feet tall in the book, while in the movie he's only like 5 foot 10 and a half, which is very surprising. And we do eventually, and in the book that is not in the movie, we also see that Bella has a brace on her hand after punching Jacob and wears the brace while Edward fights Victoria. But in the movie, though, Carlisle puts a bandage on Bella's wrist while Emmett makes a joke about it. Eventually, Bella's not wearing the bandage when Edward's fighting Victoria in the movie. The pack is grown in the Eclipse to 10 wolves in the book, while in the movie, 8 wolves are seen, which kind of, I mean, there's a lot of differences when it comes to the book and movie. Eventually, Rosalie talks to Bella about how she became a vampire in the book, but in the movie, she tells Bella about it on the balcony, while in the movie, but in the book, Rosalie tells Bella that in Edward's room, which is very surprising about how they have different changes. Now, Jacob gives Bella a bracelet for graduation with a wolf charm that he made while after some pleading ding in the book, while Edward gives her a diamond heart charm. But in the movie, though later on, it's just pretty much the same thing. Bella then eventually wears Jacob's bracelet on her left hand because her right was still healing at the time in the book, while in the movie it can be seen on Bella's right hand when Edward presented her with the engagement ring in the movie. We also see in the book that Jacob tells Carlisle that he kissed Bella in the living room, and Carlisle replies with saying, "Good for you." But in the movie, Jacob tells Carlisle that he kissed Bella in front of the house, and Edward and Jacob are about to fight. Eventually, that doesn't become the case, and basically, Jacob's response saying that it was a total misunderstanding. Eventually, none of the newborns make an appearance until the battle in the book, but in the movie, they appear as often. Then but there is another, part in the book after Jacob confronts Edward of the high school before classes start. Principal Green tells Jacob to leave, and he does so alone. Eventually, after the same confrontation, Bella gets on Jacob's motorcycle and then leaves with him in the movie. Eventually, in the book, Edward has Alice keep Bella at their house while he leaves for a hunting trip, and then during school, Bella escapes with Jacob on his motorcycle before Alice could catch Bella in the book. Eventually, Jasper teaches the Cullens in the book and the Cullens shapeshifters how to fight the newborn army at 3 a.m., while in the movie he teaches the Cullens in that during the daylight. We also see in the book that, Bella's never spoken to Leah at all, but eventually in the movie, Bella apologizes to Leah about Harry's death at Emily's house, and that's one of the other differences. In the book, we also see that the rock Bella cuts herself with the falls from the mountain above the debris after Riley throws Seth against it. However, in the movie, Bella scrambles for a rock on the ground and then hurts herself with it, and Seth is never thrown against the mountains. What's surprising is that in the movie, it's not in the movie, but it is mentioned in the book that Jasper gets bitten by the newborns during the newborn battle, and Alice calls him an overprotective fool when none of this is shown in the movie. Like, maybe it was hinted in the movie, but maybe we just didn't know. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of differences. But I mean, I'm not going through every single one, but in the movie, Peter and Charlotte are never mentioned, but in the book, they are introduced when Jasper tells his story. Right? Which, I mean, some certain characters were added in the book, but not in the movie. So, like, most in the movie, some stuff never happens in the movie. It's not mentioned, so it's hard to say. It's possible that it could, maybe if they were going to originally add it into it, but they probably just decide not to do it. But I think one of the most biggest one was ever there was that in the book, Kim was at the bonfire, but she wasn't there in the movie. When this Mike Newton starts to unsuccessfully style his hair like Edward's, he does that in the book, but in the movie, it's never shown either. So, I mean, when you take a look at the book and the movie, you could definitely see there is a lot of differences that the book had that the movie did not have. So, I mean, that's kind of why people debate on what they like best. Like, do they like the book more? Do they like the movie more? I guess it depends on how everyone feels about it. So, like, I'm just going to say, this is just my opinion on the movie. If you don't like the movie, that's perfectly fine. I respect your opinion. Like, you're free to disagree on this. Like, if you like the book, that's fine. If you don't like the movie, that's perfectly fine. I respect your opinion. Like, if you like the movie, that's good or fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you prefer the book or not, whatever it is, you guys feel free to disagree or agree, whatever works. And as long as you're respectful in my comment section, we could be good. But if you're going to be bashing people's opinions, coming off as being disrespectful about people's opinions, then yeah, you will be blocked. Well, not really blocked, but I will be deleting them. But if you're going to pester about it or something, then you will be blocked because I do not tolerate opinion bashing in my community. But like I said, what do you guys think of this movie? Do you like the movie? Did you like the book? Did you not like any of them? Did you not like the book? Did you not like the movie? What would you have done to make the movie and or book a lot better? Feel free to state your own thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're new to this channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to when I upload. And as always, I guess I'll catch you in the next upload. Peace out, and as always, I'll see you all next time.